Yeah,
Yo,
what's up, dude? Can you hear me?
yeah, how's it going?
It's going well. Hold on, let me turn up your volume real
Yeah, you're a little quiet on my end too.
quick.
Okay, I think I can hear you now.
Oh, that's much better.
Oh
I was
yeah, definitely.
on the wrong audio setting. All
Okay,
right, cool.
nice.
How you been, dude?
I've been pretty good. I'm super wiped out today. I went swimming like crazy yesterday, and like I just can't move.
Oh yeah, I saw you jumped off the tall diving
Oh yeah,
board.
that was really fun too.
It's
I
scarier when you get up there.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for like how much acceleration gravity actually gives. Cause like a normal jump, you're used to like that, But then
Right.
but then this is like, and then you hit, and I was like, wow, that little extra bit of like acceleration super threw me off actually, but it was fun.
There's a little bit of a thrill to it.
Oh,
It's interesting.
definitely.
My dad was like on the diving team in high school, and he knew how to do crazy stuff, and I that stuff scares me.
Mm-hmm. That's
So,
awesome.
all
Yeah,
right,
it
cool.
is a
So,
little scary.
yeah. So I have a couple initial questions, if that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
about like kind of how you do these things. So I've, I learned about these lessons through seeing your YouTube and stuff, and I know that, you talk about it and everything, and I really like the vibe of, kind of how you talk about things and break things down. Are all of your lessons always streamed?
Usually, unless somebody specifically requests that they not be streamed. Is this fan too loud for you?
I can't hear anything.
Okay, you can't hear it.
Nope,
Okay,
can't hear it.
all right. I'll have to ask. Uh, like nobody's in chat. It's coming through on the microphone pretty hard. It's just mad hot today.
I'll check out your stream real quick.
No worries.
See how the sound
Yeah, here I'm
feedback
gonna
is.
turn it on. Just let me know if it's too loud on the stream. Actually, it doesn't look like it's.
Because Discord has that noise suppression built
Mm-hmm.
in sometimes, but I get all kinds of feedback on my stream from like outside noises and
Exactly. All
man,
right.
my apartment people upstairs are always stomping around and people can hear it on stream.
Yeah. So like, can you hear it?
I got 2 seconds on the last ad. All right. Um, I'm listening to it now. I can't hear anything.
Okay, awesome. Because I was just dying in here without the
Yeah, you're
song.
good.
Okay. Um. All right. So, sorry. Continue what you were saying. My bad.
Uh,
I.
so yeah, that was just the first question about if things are always streamed or not. So okay, so that's good to know. So if I ever do want like, a private talk or something, then I can just request one
Definitely,
less than
yeah,
just being
yeah. I just
okay.
stream it by default because it's easy to get the VOD and upload it and everything for people. But yeah, if you have a problem with that, no problem to not stream it.
Oh crap, I see your thing says 50 an hour now. Did I short you $20?
Oh, did you
I
send
thought it was
40?
yeah,
Yeah,
45
it's
per
50, but you can
I
worry about
I
it later.
will I will worry about it afterwards. All right, cool, cool. Um yeah, so I'm
Yeah, so
excited
we
to get
pretty
into
much
it.
have an hour to use however you want. What are you trying to go over?
So Uh, I'll just give a quick intro about
Oh,
myself.
good idea. Okay.
I know that you know me, but like for anyone who
Yeah, I forget. I'm like
doesn't
everybody
know me,
knows DeepFox.
I've been around on the board a little bit here and there.
You
But
definitely have.
I mean, I pretty much I started playing in early 2014 at Ohio State, OSU, and after being convinced to stop playing Brawl by Prince Abu and Hanky Panky, I switched over to Melee because people were a lot more fun, and I just thought the game was a lot more fast paced and I enjoyed it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Dreppen was also around at that time and he was really into traveling and like no one else in the scene really wanted to travel. So
Mm-hmm.
he would just take me to all these tournaments and that's like where I eventually met you at Apex 2015 and like some other people from Cali. So that was cool. But basically like during college, I was always like super busy with engineering and stuff. So I could only go to like, one or two weeklies a month maybe and like didn't really have time to practice or train like outside of playing friendlies and stuff. But now that I'm like out of college for a few years, I feel like I've gotten solid to say the least. And, but I want to keep pushing forward because I think I'm getting like hard diminishing returns on like the ways I'm either practicing or thinking about the game.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
so that kind of leads me to my goals, I guess. Like I've already been like PR'd or ranked in a couple regions before, so rankings aren't like that big of a deal for me these days. So I really just want to like learn how to train and study more efficiently so that
Mm-hmm.
I can use my time more wisely.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and like ideally I'd like to be able to give top players, in the game a run for their money and potentially, win the sets if I'm doing the right things that day.
Right.
So,
Okay.
um,
Do you?
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I guess continue if you were gonna say something.
So I guess like, I know a lot of people, I just see a lot of VOD analysis, which is great and I can get a lot of information from that. Um, but the main things that I think I'm weakest at in the game are stuff that I feel like is a little more abstract than just like, oh, hey, go grind out this tech in Uncle Punch or something like that. Like, so after talking with some people, they I kind of get some feedback that, you know, I might not be understanding threat zones of characters as well as I should be, like spacing or knowing like exactly how the other character, puts moves out. Like a lot of times I'll go for something in neutral that I think is safe, but then all of a sudden I just get destroyed out of it. And I'm just like, why
Mm.
did that happen? And like a lot of times I'll chalk it up to, oh, I wasn't fast enough or I messed something up. But
Mm-hmm.
really the answer is just that, I wasn't understanding, the spacing of the situation or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the next thing is kind of simplifying my thought process with like when it comes to game plans and matchups and stuff. I feel like I overcomplicate things a lot and I could probably take a more straightforward approach in some cases. And then the last thing that I kind of have listed here is kind of learning how to add level 2 plus mix-ups to my game and stuff. Like feel like I've, got the level 1 game down decently enough, but feel like I don't bait nearly as often as I should.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's, a big part of Melee, from my understanding, is conditioning your opponent to kind of do things you want them to do and then switching it up at the last second. And then all of a sudden, now you've got the upper hand. And so I know these things are all kind of abstract, but, I thought maybe a coach could help me think about these things in a better way or, how I can actually work on these things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you said you don't have a VOD to go over?
I mean, I have,
Yeah, because like a lot of times this stuff is just significantly easier to kind of go over if I have some kind of like if you have maybe even like a clip where you're like, here's where I feel like this frustrating thing happens or whatever. Because like I can talk in the abstract about these things if you want me to, like that's fine. But
sure.
sometimes it's kind of like self-diagnosis is difficult and sometimes the issue is slightly different from what you might think or something like that, so
Uh-huh.
but we
All
can
right,
start
yeah.
with this, and if you
I mean,
feel
I
like
can send what's the best format for me to
just
just like,
sending a slippy through Discord is fine, or if you have like a tournament VOD on Twitch or something, either of those work, anything like that,
let's see.
just something so I can take a look at it and just gives me a lot better feel for what's going on. And like I said, I don't
So
mind just talking about it, but I feel like it might be more helpful if I have something to go off of.
for sure. And then also the other thing I wanted to mention is that like since we're going to be, hopefully meeting regularly, then kind of establishing, a forward progress plan of attack on how we can work
Mm-hmm.
on things. And I know we can talk about that at the end here after we like talk about more
Okay,
things.
no, it's good to bring that up though. Okay.
But is that the correct kind of okay, yeah. So this is playing with I usually play I have trouble finding anyone but Falcos or Foxes on
It is
Slippy,
difficult,
so I have to
yeah.
like I have to like set up smash dates with like people I know. So this is me playing with Chango. Do you know who Chango is?
Yeah, I know the guy.
Yeah, and he usually always messes me up a bunch, but recently I try to take a look at a couple of your Fox Puff lessons and
Mm-hmm.
some big takeaways I had from that. I feel like really helped me in the last couple sessions I had with him, namely like don't full hop out of the corner, knowing that like side platform is super strong for Puff, kind of like stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
positioning. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, so one sec. So
And
let
this
me
game specifically, I chose because another weakness I feel like I have is like for whatever reason, I feel like I am bad at playing when I'm in the lead. Like whenever I have a lead, I feel like a disproportionate amount of time I like lose the game, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty frustrating when you have the lead. So yeah,
Interesting. Okay. Um, okay, so can you just go over those 3 points again? I realized since we're gonna be doing this like somewhat consistently that I should just keep like a note file.
yeah.
So, can you just go over what were those the three things you mentioned? I remember one was like how to practice efficiently or something
I
like that.
just sent it to you on Discord if you want to
Okay,
just read it.
perfect. Okay, so we have threat zones, spacing or knowing the other character better, simplifying my thought processes, adding level 2 plus mix-ups to my game. Okay, so we can just hold that for now, and I'll just take a look, and we'll see what jumps out and what we can kind of target first. The screen share
Sure.
is working.
Yeah, I can see
Okay,
it.
awesome. Mm-hmm. Sorry, just watching for a second, seeing what pops out.
Yeah, no, take your time. Yeah. And a lot of times it's hard to pinpoint if like I myself am changing up my game plan after I like, either get a stock lead or a stock down or something, or if my opponent is just, mega adapting or something like that. Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Mm-hmm. It's better to assume that your opponent is not mega adapting.
Really?
Usually,
Okay.
yeah. Like I like to be honest, I have not had the thought, "Oh, my opponent is adapted to this. I need to change something" in a really long time. Even
Really?
against like the best players. It's more of something that happens in the long term where you're like this worked a couple months ago and now it doesn't because
Okay.
they have specific solution X now, and what can I do to make specifics like it's kind of like a wrestling match of people finding solutions to options, but unless you're doing something bad, like if you're kind of cheesing, that like if you're doing something silly, like especially if you're playing like a low tier or something where like your opponent can catch on, then like yeah, then you're like okay, they adapted to that. Or like basically if something's going really wrong for them, then like oh, every time I like for instance, as Falco, there's a really common FD combo which is like down air shine, and then they DI out on the second shine, and then I wave dash forward smash them at the edge. And there are
Yeah.
like a huge number of Fox players that will just DI out there because they're trying to avoid getting comboed in whatever way.
Right.
And so if I forward smash someone like a couple times in a row there, and then they survival DI like the third time, I'm like, okay, they adapted to that. But I'm not like, do I need to change my game plan mid game because they have changed something? Like the game plan always stays the same. You
Right.
might you
Okay.
might tune little details based on like personal reads, but I don't think you should really be thinking like, do I need to change my game plan because they adapt?
Okay.
Your
Okay.
game plan should always be consistent against pretty much every player in the matchup and like every possible style. And
All
you
right.
like yeah, the adjustments are just small, and like I would say that like at your level of play, unless you're trying to beat someone in tournament and they always DI this one thing super wrong, I would focus just purely on trying to make a solid game plan and following it and not going too far. Like you're like, I need to add like level 2 mix-ups to my game, and it's like, well, you might just not be doing the level 1 things solid enough, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So like one thing I'm kind of seeing in this match so far is this really big lack of dash dancing. Like
Okay.
basically anytime there has been even like a slight bit of interaction with Puff this entire game, you haven't dash danced once. Like
Okay.
let me go back to the beginning, and that's like a kind of a red flag for me.
Uh-huh.
So like watch, like you're here, you're not dash dancing, and not that everything you're doing is wrong, but you just don't do it. This is
Right.
kind of an interesting thing to see. So it's like, okay, so let's get past this. You have not done one dash dance with Puff being even somewhat interactable yet, and I'm not really sure why that is. Sometimes that can be a symptom of like the Fox player not being able to like control their dash dance well enough, so it
Uh-huh.
almost feels like when they dash dance they just kind of get hit by stuff, and so it doesn't feel as strong as like attacking or rolling and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case with you, but that's definitely, so you kind of did a dash dance here, but this wasn't really like a bait dash dance. This was more like you dashed away and then you didn't want to fall off the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good that you were able to dash dance in place. I did a lesson with a guy a couple days ago where, or yet maybe it was yesterday, where I was saying you should be able to dash dance in place, like under this edge of the platform. So it's good that you can do that without any trouble. There was the full hop in the corner thing.
Right, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of wanted to point out like the lack of pressing left right. This is the first time you've done it so far, like in
So like go back to the
in like the
beginning of the
first
match if you don't
full
mind.
minute.
Like
Yeah.
so like where because I don't even really know of opportunities where I could have been dash dancing at the beginning. Because okay, this part right here was kind of like we've played a few games already. Now it's kind of like a read that he just attacks me immediately, so I just crouch canceled it. So that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
cheesy. But like so far, there hasn't been another opportunity. I guess right here I could just take center instead of pressing.
Yeah, I guess it feels strange to see you playing in place so much because like basically without Fox's dash dance, he doesn't. Fox only has his speed because he's using it, like his dash dancing. So if you're not using the dash dance, he's just kind of slow. And so here, like let me find. Oops, this is the wrong YouTube thing. Okay, let me just grab really quick, like, a Cody video of him against Hungrybox from any time ever. Let's see, LACS. He might have even lost this one. But the match, it's basically just Dash Dance City, like this, where it's just constant. Like obviously this was dumb of him, that thing, but like the general gameplay of it is very dash dance focused, like that. And I think this is super interesting because I feel like so a
I
lot of
definitely agree with you. I don't dash like I've been told that I don't dash dance enough in general.
yeah. Okay.
But I
So
find myself having trouble like kind of doing it in meaningful ways.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Like,
yeah, no, that does make sense, and I'm kind of it was, yeah, because that's sort of what your comment indicates, where you're like, well, there wasn't really like an opportunity to dash dance there, that kind of thing. Um,
hmm
this is not an easy case because sometimes there are players like a lot of times when a player is new to the game, like they've been playing like a year, they're just kind of missing a lot. But a lot of times when people have been playing a while and they're even like kind of good, but they've kind of been like that same type of kind of good for a while, it's
hmm
difficult because like they've covered every piece of the game. So they have a cohesive model of the whole game. Like if you showed them a situation, they'd be able to say, "Oh, I do this here because of this and that." But then and so it sometimes can be difficult to find the issue, or more difficult to find the issue, because there's nothing that you're doing that's just like, oh, this is like egregious, haven't you ever heard of crouch cancel or something like that, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
all this stuff. So it's going to be a process of finding the thing that, like let's say you have a general 50% efficacy as Fox or something compared to like his absolute full potential as like a task character, then it's
Hmm.
like there might be some element of that. Like, okay, basically you're gonna want to take every piece of the game that you have learned over this whole period and understand that like whatever model you have for that situation is wrong.
Okay.
And every model I have for every situation, most situations, because some are really simple and you kind of just get them solved and they stay solved. But in general, like, it's important to recognize like every piece of info or every piece of like abstractified knowledge that I have is wrong. Like, you might know how much damage a move does, but like, what is the correct response to this move? A lot of times, when things get kind of complex with the spacing, those answers that we make for ourselves to simplify the game don't really work out. And
Yeah.
so, a major point of improving when you've kind of, because you said the sort of like diminishing returns thing,
Hmm.
is sort of being able to unwire what you have, because sometimes pieces of the game being nailed down that you might not even realize in your head can cause you to have trouble branching out in other ways, where you're like, you have kind of a model that's been built and it's hard to take one part of the model and like deviate with it because it might contradict these other parts that you've been using for like years.
Yeah, I identify with that. That makes sense.
And so I'm kind of, it's kind of, it becomes a little bit more difficult for me, which is why I'm not easily just like, oh, do that and this and that. And I know you're not specifically looking just for like puff stuff either necessarily. Do you have maybe a match against a different character that I could just kind of watch both of these and kind of compare it?
Yeah.
Because I still want to watch the rest of this match, but
Sure. And like, yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying, and I feel like you'll see more and more kind of habits that you'll keep seeing me doing. Like
mm-hmm,
I really like the double jump a lot because I've gotten a
mm-hmm,
lot of mileage off of like, baiting people with it. But then at the same time, once you use your double jump, unless you're going to a platform, you're kind of
mm-hmm,
committing to like a certain range that you can land, and like better opponents
yeah,
will just pick up on that so fast and just destroy me for it.
mm-hmm, yeah. So what you want to do overall, I would say, to try to move towards like like more improvement, is kind of flip that around, where you're like, all of my experiences tell me this is good, but my theory tells me it's not. Like, the idea that you're saying of like, I know that theoretically this is a bad move, but it keeps working. Those sorts of like you always want to, hmm like, you want to build, your game plan should always be like your rock, like your fundamental thing that you are confident of because it's based on like your logic. And then the game will contradict that logic because it's more complex than your logic. There are exceptions to every rule type thing. And then what you want to do is you want to take that new experience and say, okay, how can my game plan expand itself to contain this new experience? Rather than saying, like, well, my game plan tells me this is bad, or like my knowledge or whatever, my theory crafting tells me this is bad, but my experiences tell me it's good, and so even though I don't really understand why it's good, I should probably do it. It's more like, if it's working and you don't really know why, it's something you should really like sit down and like that's like, that contradiction is a clear vulnerability in your game plan that needs fixing, and it can kind of tell you where to look or where you need to adjust things. But
Okay.
if it's something that's outside of your understanding and it works, but you don't really get why, or like this should be bad but it keeps working, don't do it. It's
Hmm.
in Don't do something until you know, or you think you know, why it is good or why it is the best choice.
Uh-huh.
And that sort of discipline is way more important than people realize, because there's just so many. And what'll happen is then you end up getting this, and this is an issue for every top player anyway, even being conscious of this and trying to fix this, is you end up with matchup bleed, where if you're super confident in your game plan and you stick to your game plan and that's all you do, you're not going to have any matchup bleed, because as soon as you go from fighting Puff to fighting, I don't know, Marth or Fox or something like that, or Peach, you are like, okay, I will completely unload the Puff game plan. Now this is an entirely new game against, Peach, and let me load up my entire Peach game plan that I'm now going to follow. And the more pieces of your game plan that work, and they aren't really in the plan, but they work, and they work really consistently, and you don't really understand them, those are the things where your subconscious just kind of puts away, like it doesn't put it away on a nice shelf. It doesn't put it on the Jigglypuff shelf or the Peach shelf. It just kind of puts it in the this works shelf. And
Right.
that's not a shelf you really want to have a lot of stuff on it, because then
Okay.
you play against Puff for 2 hours and you go fight another friend who plays Peach, and your brain can't like unload that of like, oh, this is good against Puff, because your brain doesn't know if it's good. Your brain just knows it works. So then when you're playing against Peach later, your brain will just throw it out, and you're like, no, like my matchup that I was practicing against Puff is bleeding into my Peach matchup. And like I
Hmm.
said, this is an issue that happens to everybody, and basically it's something that you get better and better at trying to minimize, and that comes with having very set game plans and sticking to those game plans.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, do you have any thoughts on that, or should I just keep going?
Hmm. It's a
I
lot
know
to
it's a
unload.
lot.
Yeah, it's very, because a lot of this stuff is stuff that I just sit here and like will think about for hours on end sometimes. It's just
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, keep going for now.
Okay.
I'll definitely, gonna rewatch these lessons and then probably give you follow-up questions like about certain points that we talked about perhaps in DMs later.
Okay. And a
But then
Oh, yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Just a simplification of that point a little bit, and this is something I've said probably 100 times in my lessons, is if you go through a match and all you do is follow your game plan, and
Hmm.
that's all you do zero variations, and you get destroyed, that is not a bad thing, because
Right.
what it
Yeah.
indicates is just an issue with your game plan, not
Hmm.
an issue with anything else. But if you ever deviate from your game plan, or if you don't even have a game plan, which is even worse, then like all you can really say on analysis is like, either I need a game plan or I should have followed it better. Because if you don't have a plan, it's kind of hard to work off of a basis, and that's why having
For
that
sure.
super solid plan that you always follow is important.
Makes sense. Yeah, yeah. There's that double jump.
Hmm. Yeah, and I definitely did notice the double jumps. It's actually funny. I noticed the double jumps like 3 seconds before you started talking about it, so it was just a really good time to bring it up. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay, at least you're dash dancing now. Yeah, this is. I'm glad we're gonna be doing more than one, because this is not super easy to figure out for me. At least, especially from the Puff video. You said
Right. And like,
you say you sent me another one?
yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out right after this one's over.
And like I'm totally fine with doing, looking at VODs for like food for thought so that we can, spark conversation and discourse. But like part of the reason why I was hesitant at first is because I feel like even at this level I'm at now, every single game I watch, I can like make a list of like 20 things that I like did wrong in the game or something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah, that's not really what it's about. I'm not looking for things you're doing wrong, because there were definitely like 100 things in this that I could have been like, oh, you should have done that better. You should have done this faster. You should have comboed
Right.
harder. Why aren't you drifting your nair right? Whatever. Those things aren't really relevant to me right now, because that's not what you're looking for. You're not like, I need to know what to do against Puff at mid percents. And so that's why I'm not thinking of it from that sense. I'm looking at it to sort of try to. So what I do when I watch these matches in this way is I'm actually in my head. I'm you. So I'm like, okay, I'm this Fox, and I'm playing this game out, and I sort of look for moments of dissonance where I feel like something happens, maybe for not a great reason, and not something that looks like it's like a knowledge based reason. I'm looking for like several factors to come together to sort of maybe reveal what your biggest weakness is overall that we can start targeting, because that is my general theory of improvement: is find the thing you're the worst at and practice it until it's no longer your worst thing, then find the new worst thing.
I vibe with that. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's nothing super in particular standing out yet, but like clearly there is a worst thing, and it might be, like I said, that's the issue with playing the game for a long time, is instead of having these massive deficiencies, you might have like a lot of small deficiencies, which is kind of what it looks like. And that's why it's a bit more of a struggle to be like, what should we really target first here? So
Right, right.
that's what I'm trying to sort of do.
And so for context on this game, so okay, I will just preface in general. I whatever reason feel super comfortable and like I love playing against floaties like Peach and Puff and like
Mm-hmm.
I love playing against those characters and then I hate I don't know why, but I hate playing against fast fallers. I feel like I
Interesting.
hate it because I'm bad at it, because
Yeah.
I feel like I'll lose to like, Falcons or Foxes or Falcos that are I never want to use the term like worse than me because it's
I
all
know what you
hard to
mean, but
like
you feel you
say that in a
shouldn't be
sentence.
losing to them skill wise.
Right. And then I'll beat, floaties that are, a little better than me sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
And so for context for this game, so I don't
That
hate
does
playing against
help. It
Falco.
helps that you mentioned that.
Right. And so for context in this game, I played this guy for like 10 friendlies before this, and he's like, all right, you want to do best of five set to end it? I'm like, yeah, sure. And all of a sudden during the set, now he starts like, what looks to me like camping and like, playing much, much more safely than he was in the previous games. And in this game, you'll see there's a certain point where I'm kind of in shambles because he starts like lasering in such a way that like makes me feel like I can't get in. But
Mm-hmm.
that's just the context of
Okay,
why
that
I
does
sent
help.
this game.
Okay. So, okay. This is a small detail, and I'm not gonna like harp on too many little details, but this is something that you can, kind of like the dash dancing thing, where it's like, okay, so here's a rule we can set up already: is if you are on the ground, you need to be dash dancing. This is
Okay.
a hard rule for Fox in every matchup. You just need to do it. Are you on the ground? Are you doing something? You need to be dash dancing. Did you want to up tilt in place? Sorry, you should be dash dancing instead.
Okay. Okay.
The only types of up tilts that are really good for Fox are like wave dash up tilts anyway, because it makes things more dynamic and like dashing up smashes and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
that's just sort of like a general thing in the game, is like the more you change your position around, the more dynamic like the general position of like the versus game becomes, and that is just overall better than being static, because the more static you are, the opponent can plan around you.
That makes sense.
So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna write that one down in our list of things to do, because that is a big deal. When on the ground, always be dash dancing. And here's the second one that I wanted to also bring up. If you do this double jump, this one right here. So I'm gonna
Hmm.
go back a second. If you do this double jump right here, so if you double jump below the top platform, or honestly below a side platform, if you double jump below a platform, you're gonna land on the platform.
Okay.
I never want to see you do this ever again. double jump fast fall through the platform. It is a super scrubby mix-up. Everybody below a certain level thinks it's the greatest thing since, sliced bread, and it's just awful. It doesn't do anything, puts you in a bad position for no reason. Just waveland or double jump aerial or whatever to the platform every time.
Got it.
So never double jump fast fall through top plat. Gonna write that down because that's something that this will come up in every matchup if you think this is a good idea.
Right. And then one more kind of note. So
yes.
So I do try to practice ledge dashes a lot, and I always try to tell myself, always ledge dash just by default, and if they really start covering it, then start mixing it up and stuff. But just so I can get myself into the rhythm of always having that as my default recovery, or when I get to the edge.
Yes.
But when I get I feel like when I start getting in intense games and I start sweating a little bit, I start resorting to these stupid side Bs on the stage. So just prefacing that you're gonna see those side Bs, and I'm gonna get wrecked for those side Bs this game.
I used to have that problem too. I used to be the big side B on stage, Fox, in 2014. There's so many videos of me in tournaments where they're like, "Wow, Fiction's so good," and then I side B off ledge, and they're like, "Okay, so clearly he's the worst player of all time for side being off the edge." I'm like, dude,
Well, yeah, and I'm talking about kind of side being onto the stage, as recovery sometimes, because
No, that's what I'm saying. You grab,
okay, yeah,
upbeat a ledge or something, and then you do double jump side B on stage. Yeah.
And it's amazing when it works, but then
it's nice
when it doesn't work,
yeah.
you just lose.
And so that also comes from a place of confidence. It just means you're not confident in your ledge dashes.
Okay.
Yeah, so Fox actually has two options off the edge, not one. So he has ledge dash, and he has double jump laser land on the platform. Doesn't really work here, but on Battlefield and Yoshi's, it's excellent, and you're still invincible, and you didn't have to risk an SD. It's something that I pretty much heavily favor on stages that I can do it, just because of that. But in general, it's just just do it, just ledge dash, as much as it hurts, and it's gonna really suck, missing a ledge dash in tournament and stuff like that, and dying. You just gotta do it. You just need to do it until you're on ledge, and you're back on the stage already. This has happened to me in tournaments so many times. Well, not really with Falco, but back when I played Fox, because my Falco ledge dashes still aren't the greatest, because the muscle memory is interfering quite a bit. But I was really good at Fox ledge dashes, and it's funny because there's just so many tournament sets that I'll look back and watch, and they'll hit me to ledge, and I just ledge dash, and they hit me to ledge again, and I ledge dash, and they hit me to ledge again, and I ledge dash, and I'm like, that's crazy, because I don't remember getting hit to ledge and being like, I'm gonna ledge dash. They just hit me to ledge, and my body just ledge dashes on stage, and I'm already just playing, assuming I'm on stage. Yeah. And that's kind of the confidence you want in your ledge dashes. And it's just something that you have to be under pressure, use a ledge dash, get a good result from it, and do that a ton of times for your brain and body to be yes, that is the thing that works out the best. Because what's actually happening when you're doing that side B is the pressure changes your values in your head. Different pressure changes values, and your brain is thinking really fast and coming to the conclusion that the side B has a better expected value than the ledge dash.
I know, and when I watch afterwards, I'm like, what am I doing?
It's really frustrating, but playing the same way under pressure as you do normally is one of the hardest things in this game, possibly the hardest thing, because it's that's the thing that stopped Zane from winning Summit.
Right.
And it's just playing well in tournament and doing the same things is so hard, and you just have to press through it and be I am going to play the same way in tournament, and you just have to do it, and that's kind of it. Is when you do it, you will eventually get positive feedback, and your brain will go, I see. And then when you get hit to ledge, you'll be like Magi. When Magi gets hit to ledge, she's not should I ledge dash? She just gets hit to ledge, and she's if I do the craziest ledge dash ever, maybe I can get ledge dash shine here, and I'll just win the game off my ledge dash shine. And so her brain is yeah, that is the best expected value for getting hit on ledge, is the ledge dash and hope for the shine. Maybe she'll win the whole match off of it,
Yeah.
And that's kind of the direction you want to move toward. Okay, so I'm just gonna like watch this for a split second or for like a couple seconds and figure out. Good shine out of shield. You've really got to eliminate these double jumps in general from like neutral play. So that's one thing I'm gonna write down. Eliminate double jumps from neutral game. The reason you are doing these double jumps is because you have no idea what else to do. And
Honestly,
this is
yeah.
a lot of times. This is definitely a more complicated issue, but I want you to transition a little bit into thinking of the game currently, and I think this. Okay, wait a minute. I'm thinking of a better way to phrase it. Give me a second. I'm gonna watch some more of this.
Go ahead.
I don't want to say it in a way that might be misleading. So, what it looks like is when you're playing against a floaty, at least in the puff matches, it looks like you're waiting for a position where they are in a bad spot, and then you're hitting them. And a lot of times with like, you know, the floatier characters, this kind of happens easier because Fox is so fast, and so and they're kind of slower in a lot of ways, where it's kind of like it's easier to see them out of position, react to it, and then punish it. Whereas it feels like these types of like neutral positions where there's like the opponent isn't creating any openings for you are kind of frustrating. Where like this type of thing where like it seems like you really want every interaction to give you an opening, and I'm not really sure why. It doesn't seem like you had that idea against the Puff, but versus Falco it seems like you have this idea that like, why have I not hit him yet? Like every interaction should end with me hitting him. And like, so in this spot where you do this full hop, this should be as simple as like full hopping, realizing it's not a good situation, and either just landing and moving back or double jumping to the platform. So doing this double jump like approach type thing is almost like throwing away your potential to outplay him in neutral. And I'm kind of curious why you think that is, or why you think you're behaving that way in the game.
I feel like against Falco, like I don't want him to set up his laser stuff, so I feel like I just want to be the first one to kind of pin him down or rush him down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's kind of
Because like I know in other Falco Fox lessons you've said that the fox really needs to kind of surgically pick his openings against Falco and punish really hard. And like I feel like when I try to like find like look for those openings, I
Mm-hmm.
spend too much time looking for it, and then all of a sudden I'm in a pillar combo, and then just like, well,
Okay, wait. Too much time looking for it is not a thing.
really.
Yeah. Okay, that actually is that's a bit of a flag there. Is like when taking time to find the opening does not equal negative consequences. That is that is like a wrong thought that you want to remove. So why would taking more time get you hit?
Well, I just feel like I get hit in that time.
But why?
Like while I feel like I'm safe and like I'm trying to like, all right, let me find my opening here. Okay, let me look for it. Oh, all of a sudden I'm like in a combo, and like I got kind of hit out of, and that might be like going back to the original thing I said about threat zones and like you know
Mm-hmm.
understanding that a little better.
Yeah.
Because I feel
Okay.
like I keep getting hit out of neutral a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
like that's probably why I don't dash dance a lot, because I feel like I'm trying to dash dance and like set up something or look for something, and then all of a sudden I get hit out of my
You
dash
get
dance,
hit
and I'm
while
like,
you're trying to set
well,
up for it.
screw that. Let me just
Exactly.
go in and
Yeah.
double jump down here real fast.
Exactly. And that's what I was saying. That's usually a big part of the reason why people don't dash dance is because they feel like whenever they dash dance, they just get hit. And
Right.
so, yeah. So, okay. So that's one thing you want to completely unwire. I know it doesn't fully make sense yet. I'm just telling you for sure. Unwire the idea that time has anything to do with the game. Like that if I take longer to find an opening, that will be bad for me. That is not a thing at all. What's
Okay.
happening is you don't know how to protect yourself. And so if you don't know how to protect yourself, you will it is natural to feel that the best defense is a strong offense because you don't ever have to deal with those defensive situations. But it's much better, instead of saying all of a sudden I'm in a combo, you want to look and figure out what he did to you so that you can avoid it next time. And Fox has a lot of stalemates against Falco and Fox, in particular with like full hop. And he's faster than Falco on the ground. So it's like, if you're faster than Falco on the ground, and he can't really catch your full hops, and like, how is he gonna really like get you for being safe? You know, more likely it's that thing you said where you're kind of in like an unsafe range and you're not really realizing it, and then that works out negatively for you.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one thing. I'm gonna write that down. Don't consider time, because time is really not the factor here. It's entirely that, like, when you try to play safe or when you try to spend time setting up an opening, during that time you're not paying enough attention or you're not doing the right things to protect yourself. And so that's why I almost always tell people that the first step to good neutral is to protect yourself. You need to be able to basically grab your Falco buddy, you know, probably your buddy, because if somebody's not your buddy, they probably won't want to do this with you. But you grab your buddy and you're like, hey, try to catch me. And just run away for as long as you can and see where he can catch you. And then, like, be like, okay, try to catch me, but I'll hit you away. You know, like, because otherwise, if you're just running, eventually they'll catch you. But it's like, okay, how about when you try to catch me when I'm running away, I can still, like, shine you away or throw you away and stuff, or combo you and stuff like that. And sort of just get practice defending against these situations, because and honestly, you can kind of do something similar with all the characters. Is you just want to get like an idea of like what am I like what's actually hitting me and why. Okay, so let me go through a little bit more. I'm really kind of thinking on like what is the, because there's a few things that we've gone over that are kind of major, but I really want to get like a nice point, like a jump off point, you know, for like future lessons and stuff like that, beyond just the stuff we have so far. Yeah, so see, look, this you're not doing anything wrong here. This might, so that you're doing this, you jumped in, that you did the correct thing here. So let's see, so right here you defend yourself, you jump in, you're trying to catch Falco jumping in, great full hop. You realize it's not happening, so you get away. You avoid his full hop aerial that he could have done here. You jump down, you're back to the ground. Hey, look, nothing happened. Like, nothing went wrong for you. A lot of people have an issue where they think nothing happening is somehow inherently against them. And that's kind of by definition not true. Like, if nothing happens, nothing happens. Your opponent is still is just like you. They're another you, and if nothing happened on your end, nothing happened on their end. And a lot of it is mental, where like if you're trying to make something happen and nothing happens, you can feel there's a potential to feel that you failed because you wanted something to happen and nothing did. And it's easy to be on the other side and say, like, this guy's gonna attack me, but I want it to return to neutral. And when it does, and when nothing happens, you can feel like that's a success. But the truth is, both of those are like an illusion, because nothing happening just means nothing happened. So being in this position, let's see, where is it? So he hits you, combos you a little bit. Okay, so I guess there's not an exact reset, because it's kind of like you were right here, but you were kind of right here before this whole thing went wrong and you got hit. Yeah, so it's like kind of in this position. I guess there's not an earlier position that exactly parallels it. But it's basically the idea that you have now returned to neutral. This is like a completely neutral position. Oh, that's where it was. It was right here. My bad. It's right here. Neutral position, 83 to 30. Do this. You do this. And look, you're back in this same spot. Nothing happened. That's okay. You can do this forever. Look, same spot, nothing happened. There's literally nothing that has gone wrong in any way. And so you need to see this time passing with nothing happening as completely neutral. Or if
I guess so,
anything,
because I feel like I'm sitting here like, oh, he's winning because I'm like he's keeping me away.
No, exactly. But it's like it's not true. If you watch from the Falco perspective, so he hits this, misses the combo. So it's like, okay, it's even. He shoots these lasers. He avoids you full hopping in. He's like, oh man, Fox in the top plat. I can't really do anything. He's over here. He tries to get you when you come down. Can't get you. Okay, tries to catch you with the high lasers. None of them hit. And you know, look, now he like not accidentally, but he like read your full hop, and he was wrong, which puts you in this position where if you hadn't done this nair and you just ran under him, you could have hit him. And I'm not going to talk too much about this nair. This was a nair that was a consequence of you feeling the desperation that he's like, oh no, he's keeping me out, but like nothing has happened.
Yeah.
So it's like I actually see stalemates like when nothing is happening. I look at it as kind of like a positive light because I'm like, hey, like if they tried to do something, I don't even know if they wanted to stalemate or do something. But either way, if we stalemated, we returned to neutral, you know, that's fine for me. Like, clearly I did something right if we're still in neutral. Like, so that's how I kind of look at it. Like, maintaining neutral is good. Maintaining neutral is good. I'm writing that down. Because a lot of this game is committing first. Who commits first? Who makes the error first? And so here's an illustration that I often use is people always talk about how good Mango is at approaching, right? And Mango is really, really good at approaching. He's the best player of all time at approaching. But sometimes when you watch a match, you can kind of get he can kind of make the illusion that he's approaching more than he is. And the reason for that is because he has flawless defense. His defense is amazing. His defense is what makes it look like he's always approaching. Because when his opponent wants to approach him, nothing happens. Every time you try to approach Mango, he just defends and returns to a neutral position. And so what it looks like is you're not even trying to approach him. You're just playing these neutral positions. And then when he tries to approach you, his offense is almost always better than the other person's defense. So they can't return it to a neutral position. They can't stop what he's doing. And so what it looks like is they did nothing, they did nothing, they did nothing, Mango approached. And so what it looks like is one Mango approach to 3 of his opponent's approaches. One Mango approach to 0 of his opponent's approaches. But it might actually be one Mango approach to 3 of his opponent's approaches. But you would never know it because he made those approaches, he nullified them. He made them into nothing.
Okay.
So does this all make sense?
It's making sense, yeah.
Okay. So that's definitely like a mental adjustment to make. Is that you don't need to make things happen. If anything, you know, your opponent needs to make things happen. You're chilling. It's just a mental thing. That's all it is. It's like, think about it, you know, when you're playing against like a Puff, and everybody likes to complain about Puff camping because it is extremely annoying and you can't hit her. But then, you know, when Puff tries to go in on you, what do? Do you try to hit her? Nah, you dash back. Like, you're like, you know, all I've wanted for the last minute and a half is to hit Puff, but then if she comes at me, I'm heading out. And it's because maintaining neutral is so strong. If she overextends, you get a free punish.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at this spot. So Did you feel bad while this was happening?
I think I still feel like just like not able to like get in how I want to. So I'm kind of I feel like I'm frustrated right now.
Mm-hmm. Because what this looked like to me is if I was you, I'd be like, okay, Falco's doing some lasers. Oh, he seems like he's kind of reading high. So when you go in right here and you get this shine, I'd be like, that's a big win. Falco did nothing to me, and now I have a tech chase.
Okay.
And that's all. And that's why that sort of dead time, you need to condition yourself into seeing that dead time as just that. It's
Okay.
literally nothing. Yeah. See, because he's shooting you with these lasers, but these aren't actually winning him the match. What's winning him the match is that the lasers are making you want to go in and get him.
Hmm.
And that's making you make bad choices. Or overcommit in general. Okay. I like those full hops, though, so as a small note. I'm more looking for the big stuff, but not everything is bad. Definitely. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this is rough. So remember like the surgical opening into Big Punish.
Hmm.
It'll be a little painful, but let's count. Let's count the number of openings it took. Oof, this is a big one. Okay. So we have 1, 2. Like the times you hit him out of neutral is what I'm gonna say that you could have potentially comboed out of. 3. Okay. Let's go through. See. 4. Mm-hmm. 5. Okay. See the next time you get an opening. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, and he's dead.
Ooh, 14. There we
Yeah,
go.
so that is more than a full best of 5's worth of stocks
All
that you
right.
need to
Oh
take.
my gosh.
And so it's kind of like, and obviously you're not going to get kills out of all of those, but this was just watching this was making me think about why you probably like the floaty mashup so much more. And I think a lot of it is that the floaty characters have significantly worse neutral than the spaceys. That is how the game works, where spaceys die in one hit, but floaties don't die in one hit usually, and they sort of are more like spaceys are kind of hitting the floaties several times in a row, and the floaties are looking for their one monster punish. And it seems like that is kind of the dynamic you're comfortable with, is lots of little single hit outplays. You don't really need to look for the combos on the floaties because there aren't any anyway. It's just, I outplayed you spacing wise, I got my hit. Now you're at a slight disadvantage, I outplayed you spacing wise, I got my hit. And that is how you beat floaties, ultimately, is by abusing their lack of neutral game. But against spaceys, their neutral game, and fast fallers in general, their neutral games are just scary. Like, they're fast, and they're heavy, and they crouch a lot. they ASTA down a lot of stuff, and they have their spacies have their shines, and there's just like a lot of hitboxes really fast. And so if you're not comboing those spacies in the right way, like you're not actually zero deathing, sometimes you're not doing like big 070 into an edge guard type stuff, then there's no surprise you don't really feel like you're very confident in these matchups, because these are the matchups in which, sadly, punish oftentimes decides the matches more than neutral. Because killing, just like if you were a floaty, killing the spacey off of your one precious hit is the way to beat spacies, no matter which character you play. Whether it's Jigglypuff and you need the rest to beat Fox, because if you don't, or you don't do some crazy combo into Edgeguard, you can't beat Fox on stray hits. He has Nair up smash and laser, So and it's the same even when you're as Fox. It needs to be about get my one opening and look for, rather than looking for any hit you can, looking for openings that can give you the punishes that you need. So, all right, so we're almost done, but I do have a little bit of homework for you outside of the stuff we talked about.
So at the end of each lesson, I'd like if we could take, at least a few minutes just to talk about stuff that I can focus on in the next week, either in my private training, solo, or with, in games.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to write down homework week 1. Okay. So let's see. What is the number one thing I want you to practice? Let's see. Okay. So in terms of, let's break it down. Solo practice, right? In terms of solo practice, what I want you to do is and it can be basically you can probably just start on Fox, just do it on Fox, but you can do it on Fox, Falco, or Falcon, doesn't really matter. But I would say probably start on Fox or Falco and just get them to maybe, I don't know, 10-20%, something like that, and in Uncle Punch, and just do on random DI everything, just do up air and then try to land falling up airs, and just literally grind this out that I'm oh, I am the up air king. I do up air, falling up air, falling up air, falling up air, back air, or whatever, and just literally do that over and over and over and over until your brain is just up aired out, you have no up airs left. Just because that needs to be the thing in all of Fox's fast faller matchups. Up air is the thing. Yeah, it is his primary combo move. And also try to be cognizant after you practice it a little bit more. Think about which side of the up air you're hitting, because there are a lot of spots where, say, you can up air, and if they survival DI, they go kind of straight up, and if they DI out, they go way off stage. If you're close to the edge. Whereas if you up air but you're closer to the edge and they survival DI, they go way too far on the stage. And if they DI out, then you get another up air, but who's going to DI out? Because they don't want to get back air. So it's kind of a 50-50 with the back air. But don't worry about that too much for now. I just want you to get consistent multiple up airs and just get it into your hands that this is what we do. If we get Fox or Falco in the air, and it doesn't really matter how we started off, if we get them in the air, we are going to up air them repeatedly and brutally. This is what you want to do. So I'm going to say up air practice. Specifically falling up airs, because those you land quicker after, you can single hit them. They can't be SDI'd. You can practice some rising up airs, but I want the majority to be the falling up airs.
Got it. Okay.
So that is a main one.
It's on FD, or do I need to worry about platforms and? Doesn't matter.
I would say do it on FD for now. If you you need to have it down on FD before you do it on the other stages. But if you're I really feel like practicing these up airs on Battlefield, don't be no, he said not to. He said FD only. Don't worry about it too hard. But ultimately, this whole center area of Dreamland between the platforms is FD. And you're going to be dealing with FD-like situations a lot. So yeah,
Okay.
being able to determine, do I need a short hop here, full hop, what's my drift, get those things down.
Okay.
Other thing, when you're on the ground, always be dash dancing. Okay, wait, now that's a tip that's more for like a two-player thing. Let me see, what other solo practice?
I practice nearly every night or so, and I usually do at least, an hour to two, cycling through different Uncle Punch modes or like my own private training stuff.
Oh,
So
okay. I did not realize you were practicing that much. Okay.
I'm more of a grind monster than I'd like to admit, but like,
Okay. In that
yeah,
case, I want you to practice Wave Shine out of shield.
okay,
Might seem not super big, but there were like 3 or 4 times just in this match where like you need to be able to JC shine into a wave dash into like a punish, and doing it out of shield is a nice way to practice that because it comes up a lot. There's a lot of times when Falco will like aerial your shield, and if you shine, you don't get a punish, but if you shine wave dash forward, you do get a punish. So this is not as much a general thing. It's more of like, well, if you're spending a bunch of time practicing tech skill and you need better punish, this is kind of like a free way for better punish, is to be able to wave shine out of shield.
right.
Let's see. I would like you to also practice tech chasing. Your tech chases were not looking super
Dude,
hot
they're
here.
awful. Like
Yeah.
that's another one I feel like that kind of goes with the like knowing the other characters better thing bullet because I feel like a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have the time to like get that run up smash on them, but then like I just get shined.
Yeah, I basically just, there's some frame data for Fox and Falco, the whole leg split on frame 2 thing,
Mm-hmm.
and like you just want to grind it out. Like I said, I kind of like to start this with like an up air. In Uncle Punch, I'll just up air somebody at 10% or so, and then I just reaction tech chase out of that. And so I want you to grind that, because these are kind of like the fundamentals to Fox being able to combo someone. Like, you need to be able to have super crisp wave shines, especially out of shield. You need to be able to up air multiple times, and you have to be able to tech chase really well.
So do I just like wave dash to where they're gonna land and then react if they get up or tech in place or
Yeah,
no tech?
what I want you to do is I just want you to grab everything and crouch mistech. Don't worry about actually tech chasing it yet. I just want you to do it.
Don't worry about crouching mistech.
No, crouch mistech. Don't worry
Uh-huh.
about like chasing post mistech,
Okay, okay.
like the get up attack or the roll out of it. Don't worry about that yet. I want you to just get the setup, and yeah, you can wave dash to the position. That's probably the best thing. You don't have to necessarily. Sometimes you can just foxtrot there, or just dash in general, and fox is still good enough to get it. If you want, you can also practice some stuff where like they tech in place and you do wave shine down tilt, since they can't tech the shine a
Right.
second time. So I'll do tech in place, wave shine down tilt, tech chase practice with grab. So the tech chase practice with grab is the primary one I want you to practice. Just grab. And then also tech in place, wave shine down tilt practice. I think that should be enough for right now in terms of solo practice.
Okay.
So yeah, just grind these things out in terms of what you're doing solo, and then I would also say just like when you visualize the game and like practice moving around in general, think like I want you to like kind of shadow box a little bit. Don't just like look at Fox and be like, I'm controlling Fox. Be like pretend an opponent is moving around and throwing out hitboxes, and you're kind of moving around the stage avoiding them, and make sure to and like while you're doing that sort of shadow boxing, just make sure to be dash dancing and don't use double jump, fast fall through platform and stuff like that, and just sort
Right.
of kind of get that general movement worked in. And if you're playing against a player, and also like be down to be like, when you're practicing, be like, I'm gonna do 2 minutes of tech skill, pretend you have an opponent chasing you during those 2 minutes of tech skill that you're trying to be safe against.
Uh-huh.
So okay, and I think that is pretty much it. I'll send you the notes that I wrote down too, but it's pretty much what I just went over. Like when you're playing an opponent, don't feel the need to make something happen. when
Right.
you're getting hit out of, like, play looking for your setups, looking for your dash dance, looking for your safe neutral, maintaining neutral. Repeat that phrase a lot to yourself. I'm going to maintain neutral. You want the
Okay.
neutral position, you want the game to stay neutral. Unless you have a free advantage state. But if you don't, then you want it to stay neutral, and there's nothing wrong with maintaining that neutral position. And that is
Okay.
like the main thing I want you to take away for this next like week or so.
Sounds like a plan. I feel like we unpacked some big things, and I'm looking forward to, kind of developing more as we go along.
Yeah, we sure did. I think it was a good lesson. It just took a little bit to kind of figure things out just because of all the issues I previously mentioned. But I think this is a really good start. So
Sounds great. I really appreciate the time. Look forward to next week.
awesome, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, take
Bye.
care. See ya.